This public meeting of the Standing Committee on Economic Development and Environment to order. My name is Ron Bonadrouche. I'm the MLA for the Techo and will be chairing this meeting. Today, the Standing Committee on Economic Development and Environment is holding a public hearing on Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the Assembly's media channels. I will now ask members to introduce themselves for the record, starting on my left.
Rylan Johnson, MLA, Yellowknife North.
Kevin O'Reilly, Frame Lake.
Jane Whalen Armstrong for MLA for Mofi.
Katrina Knockleby, MLA for Great Slave.
Must be members, and we have our staff in the room, and also we have our law clerk, Toby Kruger, who's appearing remotely. I will now ask the Honourable Diane Archie, Minister of Infrastructure, to provide some opening remarks.
Chair, good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I welcome the opportunity to participate in committee's clause-by-clause review of Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act. With me today from Department of Infrastructure is Andy Teraposky, Director of Compliance and Licensing, Jeffrey Nichols, Senior Legislative Advisor. I also have Laura Jeffrey, Legislative Counsel with the Department of Justice for support. I also want to recognize some of the other staff that is present with me today. Kevin Dragon, who is our Acting Deputy Minister, Assistant Deputy Minister of Programs and Services with the Department of Infrastructure. Alison Scott, who is Manager of Legislative Affairs with Department of Infrastructure, and Robert Conson, my Ministerial Advisor. So Bill 46 was introduced in the Legislative Assembly in February of 2022. The Motor Vehicle Act sets out a framework for the regulation of motor vehicles and operators here in the Northwest Territories. This includes several key elements of public safety. So the Department of Infrastructure has found gaps and inconsistencies in the treatment of impaired drivers and medical examination for license holders. The proposed amendments to fix these gaps are minor, but if not made, they will cause ongoing confusion of users of the Act, including enforcement authorities. So the 10 proposed amendments either put existing practices into writing or close narrow gaps in the Act. This includes clarifying that impaired driver penalties apply to drivers who are exactly at the alcohol limit, and removing requirements for some senior drivers to complete redundant medical exams. It is also important to note that most NWT residents will not notice any changes in how the Act impacts them and their driving rights. We can respond to any questions committee may have. Queen Aini.
Must Minister, does committee have any general comments or questions? Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have any questions on the specifics of the bill. I understand we're just trying to catch up with some current practices we already do, but I notice we're making some changes to permit an interlock program, where someone has to take a breathalyzer before their car starts up. Can I just get an update on whether we're currently doing that in the territory, how frequently that happens? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll see Mr. Johnson. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Northwest Territories follows the criminal code rules that was created in 2008. So these rules allow for some basic tests for intoxication to be done automatically when a driver is pulled over, and allows for more tests if the officer has reasonable grounds. Both kinds of investigation can involve a breath test. And if I can, Mr. Chair, maybe ask Andy to perhaps speak a little bit more about the technical. Thank you.
Minister,
Hi, committee. Yeah, so we have the interlock program. I think there's 3 people registered right now, and yeah, so it's available to people. They pay at their cost. We are having problems getting a vendor. I've been working with a couple to try to get, and also there's a company out of Toronto that we're trying to get a vendor. But anyway, yeah, so we have the program. 3 people are in it right now. Again, our last vendor, he backed out, so we're trying to seek a new one, but we're not there yet. So. But it is available.
I see Mr. Terpowski. Follow up, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Yeah, just I know that the criminal code's been amended and there's work ongoing across Canada to kind of bring, marijuana into impaired driving. I'm just wondering if the department could provide, an update on any issues they've ran into that, whether we're seeing in the NWT presently, suspensions or charges for people being impaired to smoking marijuana. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I see Mr. Johnson. Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask Andy to speak about the program. Thanks.
I see.
Anything with the impaired, like on the marijuana side, we do have a appeal process if people do want to apply on if they get impaired, but I haven't seen anything with respect to the cannabis side of things. I've only been there about not even a year yet, but I don't know if our policy people have anything.
No, we're good there. I see Mr. Terpowski. Committee, Ms. Knockleby.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation or comments. I just wanted to say that it's more of a comment. I just wanted to congratulate the department on upgrading for the gender inclusive language. I think that's super important, and as well too, as we move away from binary systems, I'd like to see that. So I just wanted to say kudos for that. Thank you.
I see Ms. Knockleby. Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I'll take that as a comment, and I appreciate the department's hard work to be able to make that happen.
All right, Minister. Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to let the minister know that I support these changes. I think it just makes us more consistent with other jurisdictions across Canada. But I have one other comment on driving. We came back into the Northwest Territories last Thursday, and I want to thank the department and the staff for the extraordinary efforts to keep Highway 1 open with the extensive flooding there. It was a bit dodgy coming across, but I certainly and our family really appreciates the efforts of the staff to keep the highway open. It was lots of flooding there, so thanks very much for all the work that the staff are doing. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
I see Mr. O'Reilly. Minister, do you wish to make any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I take that. The department has worked really hard in terms of flooding that's been happening here in the territories, and we've had staff that were out for hours and hours to try and keep the road going so that we have our traffic continue to use all the highways. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I see Minister. Committee, no further questions. Do we agree to conduct a clause-by-clause review of Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act? We will defer the title of the bill until the end and begin with consideration of the clauses. There are 22 clauses in the bill. We will group the clauses where possible. Please turn to page 1 of the bill. Clauses 1 to 5. Committee. Clauses 6 to 10. Clauses 11 to 15. Clauses 16 to 22. Does the committee agree that Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act, is now ready for consideration in committee of the whole? Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act, be reported to the Assembly and ready for consideration in committee of the whole.
The motion is in order. Motion is on the floor to the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is carried. Bill 46, an act to amend the Motor Vehicles Act, will be reported to the Assembly as ready for consideration in Committee of the Whole. I'd like to thank Minister Archie and her staff for appearing before us today, and this concludes the public portion of our meeting. Merci.